despite the disappointing result at Leverkusen in the week, which gives us a bit of a mountain to climb. Well, not a bit of a mountain, a huge mountain to climb on Thursday in the second leg. It's the return to Premier League action, and this is just as important, really. It's vital. This is a big, big game, and it's so it means we're going to have to sort of just try our best to sort of switch off from what's gone on in the Europa League as best we can, and just get back to focusing on our domestic duties, because this is a really huge game in our sort of push now for European football next season. And European football next season is really big. It's so important because we are looking at a summer of change at West Ham. There's going to be a lot of transfer dealings. We've got so many players that we need to address in terms of replacing. We've also got a likelihood now of Lucas Paqueta leaving, of course, as well. It's going to be a big, big summer. And the fact is we're going to need European football realistically to attract the bigger names, to get players, make the club look more attractive. So it's hugely important that West Ham do get a top 7, top 8 finish this season. And when you look at our remaining fixtures, I've talked about it before, like I felt that 60 points was the target. I don't think we're going to be able to get that now. We're going to have to get as close as we can. I think realistically 57, 58 points is probably where we're going to end up if things go well. So with that in mind, if you look at our fixtures, you've got Fulham and Palace next, and then you've got Luton in a few weeks' time. They're the kind of 3 key games you look at and think we've got to get maximum points from those games. It will then give us a huge opportunity then just to nick something somewhere else and give ourselves a good chance of getting that sort of top 7 spot. So Fulham at home is a massive game. And let's be honest, we're playing against a side that are not really fighting for a lot now. They're not fighting for European football. They're not going to be dragged into a relegation battle. So you kind of get the feeling that a lot of these players now possibly switching off a little bit, thinking about next season, thinking about their holidays, hopefully. I'm not to suggest they're not going to be motivated at all. I'm sure Marco Silva will want them to be up for this. Of course, they're going to want to finish as high as they can. But realistically, we've got more to fight for. So this is a big opportunity for West Ham to get a valuable 3 points on the board. But let's talk about Fulham first, as we always do. I actually feel like they've kind of gone from one extreme to another at that club. I feel there's a little bit of, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I don't speak for Fulham fans, and if Fulham fans are watching this, I might be saying the complete wrong thing here. But I do get the feeling that the ownership, I wouldn't say lost interest, but it's almost like I think that the plans they had for the football club, these sort of grand plans. If you remember when they first came in, it was Khan who came in and made this sort of big noise about buying Wembley and moving Fulham there, and all these big ideas that he had for the club, which always seemed a bit strange, in my opinion. I couldn't ever see it happening. But it feels like since that's kind of happened, it fell through. That was never going to be allowed to materialise. It's almost like they've kind of given up a little bit in terms of that ambition. It's like they've kind of gone, oh, okay, well, that's not that. This is not going to go according to plan. And I feel like with that, when you look at Marco Silva, I really rate as a manager, actually. I think he's done a brilliant job wherever he's been, to be honest. I'm really impressed with him. And obviously, a manager that keeps getting linked with a move to West Ham. But you look at them and him in particular, the manager, and it's almost like I feel like he's been dealt a bit of a duff card because he's gone there in the belief that he was joining a London club that were going to be aiming to challenge and invest significantly in the squad, etc., etc. I mean, I appreciate that financial fair play now is causing all issues with that, with certain levels of football clubs, including West Ham. You know, we've got to be so careful. It's the ambition killer, isn't it? That rule, in my opinion, it really is. It's ridiculous that football clubs can't spend money they've got purely because it's based on revenue, etc. But I just feel like I look at Fulham now and there's a bit of a question mark over them for me. I don't see this hungry club all of a sudden. I sort of see a club that's kind of go, okay, we're just going to probably be happy with Premier League football. But that being said, huge credit to Marco Silva because I think they've done really well. You look at their squad. I think they've got the oldest squad. West Ham are 19th for the oldest squad. They've got their 20th. They've got the oldest squad, I believe. West Ham are 19th. So we're not far behind them. But they've got a lot of journeymen in their club, in the side. And fair play, it's worked. Do you know what I mean? They've not done bad. They've beaten us this season, 5-0. So we've got to exact a bit of revenge on that. But they've done all right. He's done all right. You know, he's picked out these players. You've got the Willian who's done all right. You've got Iwobi. These players that are effectively a bit done in the Premier League. You kind of thought their time was up. But he's done well. He's got them playing and he's got them ticking. And as I say, they're all right. They're not challenging for Europe at this stage. But they've not been in the discussion for relegation all season. And I think when you've got the oldest squad, I say, and a bit of a, a sort of doubt cloud hanging over the club regarding their ownership and what the plans are. As I say, it doesn't scream ambition at the moment, and it doesn't scream much direction. It just seems like a club that's quite happy to sit still. I might be really being. Look, if you're a Fulham fan, and you're watching this, and you think I'm being really harsh and I've got it totally wrong, just let us know. I do like to hear the view of others, of course, and I try to understand it. But from an outsider looking in, it certainly you don't see a club that's on where you can see the plan. Do you know what I mean? I can see what they're doing here. They've just got this old squad, and you're thinking, well, okay, that's kept you up. Well, what happens next season then? Are you going to rely on those same players? You imagine they're going to be selling Polina this summer. That was expected last summer, of course. But then what happens then? Do they go and then invest the money in sort of bigger, better players? Do they then do the same again, sort of get some players to try and sort of patch things up? I don't know. It's hard to say, but it does feel like there's a little bit of ambition lost at Fulham when you look at it from the outside. That's certainly my view anyway. But as I say, big credit to them because they've not been in the relegation discussion at all this season. I think as a Fulham fan, although like I've just said about the ambition was to sort of push on and Wembley, all these kind of big ideas that the owners had, as a Fulham fan, that's probably not a bad thing. They're probably thinking, well, I'm glad we're not in a relegation battle, which is obviously a huge part of when you first get promoted. You want to kind of steer away from that. When we were in one last season, once you're in one, it's very difficult to get out of it. It can be very soul destroying. So I think for a club like Fulham this season, it's probably not a bad thing that although there is as I've said, a little bit of question marks over their ownership, you kind of, I'd be pretty much content with the fact that we've done all right though. We've been fine, and you've got Premier League football secured for next season. So that's fair enough. A few players though, they've got Jimenez, haven't they? They got from Wolves, a great player. He's been pretty decent for them, I suppose. Iwobi, I thought was done. I was so surprised they went for him, actually. I thought it was a huge risk. Of course, he didn't do too well, did he, at Arsenal? He then went on to Everton. I think it was 40 million or something ridiculous they paid for him. Obviously, nothing happened there. So it's quite strange to see Fulham actually pick him up. I thought his days in the Premier League were done after Everton, to be honest. I thought he was going to move on elsewhere in Europe or wherever. But no, Fulham took a chance on him, and he's done well. He's done well for them. He's been decent. And as I said about Polina, I mean, a brilliant midfielder, and you can see why we were heavily linked. Bayern Munich heavily linked, and you can just see why he's a really gifted player. Gets really stuck in, and would have suited West Ham actually really well. You imagine. I don't know what the situation is of him this summer and West Ham. I haven't seen anything to suggest that we're going to be going back in for him. West Ham's got a huge rebuild going on this summer. It's hard to even say at this stage what's going to be happening. We're obviously going to be getting some news through X as times go on. It's very difficult at this stage because people want to you get a lot of sort of rumours about transfers. Of course, the Paqueta exit's looking likely because of the amount of noise it's making. But don't forget, nothing can really happen until this betting allegation stuff's resolved, and it still isn't resolved. So it's not a guarantee at this stage. So everything feels like it's up in the air. But it'd be nice to know where we're going to be sitting in terms of next season soon, in regards to Europe. That is key for West Ham to get European football. So let's go on to West Ham, actually. Look, this is a must-win game. I don't care what anyone says. A draw, I hate people say, no, you keep saying that it's a must-win. I don't believe it is. A lot of people question me on that. They said it about the last game, about the Wolves, it wasn't a must-win. Well, it is. It is a must-win. Like I've said earlier, if you look at our fixtures remaining, the likes of Fulham at home and Wolves away, Palaces and all these and Luton's, these are must-win games now because we have to accumulate points. We've dropped too many points recently. That's the reality. We put ourselves in this position. We threw away 3 points against Newcastle. That would have been absolutely critical. We'd won that. It would have eased the pressure off a little bit, but we didn't. We threw that away. So it's vital that we pick up the 3 points today. It's absolutely massive game today. And as I said, it's kind of like a perfect time to be playing Fulham. They're not really fighting for a lot. So West Ham need to take full advantage of that and be really up for it and sort of put a pin in the Europa League. Just don't even have any discussion about Leverkusen. Do you know what I mean? I don't want the players even thinking about it. That's to come on Thursday. Today should be the complete focus on the Premier League and beating Fulham. Jarrod Bowen, of course, out. This is a big blow. Terrible timing, this injury. There's no getting around it. I'm going to do a video tomorrow. Appreciate we were a little bit late on the videos last couple of days. The only reasons being because we've had a few things going on elsewhere, so it's just been a bit difficult to get them together. So tomorrow I'm going to do a video which was scheduled for yesterday, so it'll be out tomorrow, which is regarding West Ham and our situation, basically the repercussions of January. I want to talk about that and our squad at the moment, because it's coming to fruition, isn't it? What we all were worried about. We were all worried about our January business and what it was, the impact it was going to have on our season. Well, it's happening. It's coming to fruition. We're seeing now the problems, and Jarrod Bowen injury just sort of like cements that. Terrible timing, but we just lack so much depth in our squad. It's frightening. So it's a big blow losing Bowen, but. Having said that, Alvarez is obviously back playing today. He's suspended. He was suspended for the Leverkusen match on Thursday, obviously Europa, but he was back against Wolves. He's such a vital player, so it's great to have him back in the squad. We've also got Paqueta playing as well today. We've got a pretty strong squad. It's basically just missing Jarrod Bowen, which is a big blow. Quickly touching on Paqueta, as I've said, I mean, he's been heavily linked, isn't he, at the moment with a move to Manchester City. We all knew this. It's nothing new. It's nothing too exciting. Personally, from what I understand it at the moment, from speaking to X and speaking to, I don't believe it's actually quite as done as people seem to be suggesting. That they were suggesting that the arrangements all been sorted out between the player and the club, i.e. Man City, and it was just a formality, just about West Ham and Man City agreeing a fee. Well, it's not true, because there's no resolution at the moment to this betting allegation stuff. And no club's going to touch Paqueta until that's resolved, because you just don't know what's going to come out of it. Man City aren't going to spend £90 million on a player that in 6 months' time or whatever could then turn around and be banned for 5 years. You don't know. Do you know what I mean? So that's not going to happen. So that needs to be resolved. I mean, the reality is, right, if I'm a betting person, which I do like a little bit of a flutter, and I'll talk about that tomorrow, actually. We've got a partnership coming up with Sky Bet. We'll talk about that tomorrow, which is quite interesting. The thing is, if I'm a betting man, I'm saying Paqueta's going in the summer. I'm pretty sure on that. I think he will. I think the betting allegation stuff will be sorted out by then, and I think he will leave. I don't think it's actually a bad thing either. I know it's going to be difficult losing a player of that quality, but I think West Ham got a good opportunity to rebuild. We've got a big summer coming up. But again, we're going to talk about that in a video tomorrow. Let's do the team for today. This is my team, and then my prediction. Get your predictions in. I want to know what they're like. And also, you enter the draw as well to enter prize from our shop. So free to do so. Just drop it in. But you've got to be a subscriber. So if you're not a subscriber, just click the subscribe button. It's free to do so. This is my team. I'm going to go for Areola in goal if he's available. I don't know if he's available at this stage. He's had this groin complaint, hasn't he? It's only minor, but whether he's going to be fit and available for today, I'm not sure. If it's Fabianski in goal, I'm not too fast. I'd rather see Areola play, though. I think that Fabianski, unfortunately, although he had a decent game for West Ham the other night, I do think he played well overall. He was at fault for the first goal, in my opinion. He should have got down for it. I don't know what was going on with him at the moment. I think he was expecting a deflection, in my opinion, but it was costly. So if he's available, Areola in goal. Ben Johnson for me at right back. I want to see him playing. I want Ben Johnson to stay at this football club. I've made my thoughts clear on that enough times now. I don't want to see him go. I think it's so bloody short-sighted from the football club, to be honest, to even be considering selling him, letting him go for free. And I'm considering the fact what he's after, and I just don't get it. I just do not understand it. I know we've all got different opinions. Some people think he's not worth it and should be let go, but my opinion, Ben Johnson should be staying. And I think with that in mind, he's playing well anyway. Soufal hasn't been excellent. He's been okay, but he could possibly do with a bit of rest anyway. So I'll be really tempted to play Johnson. And also I want to see him out there because I think that helps with negotiations. He's playing. Do you know what I mean? You might think, well, I'm actually playing Premier League football here. You know what I mean? Do I need to really be moving on? I'm not sure. Mavropanos and Zuma, the back two for me, and then Emerson out on the left as a left back. Of course, Emerson banned now for Thursday as well, which is a huge blow, but obviously available for today. Edson Alvarez, of course, back in the midfield, protecting the back four. I'll then have Thomas Souček partnering him. I'll have James Ward-Prowse playing ahead behind the front three. And my front three are going to be Kudus on the right, Paqueta out on the left, and Mikel Antonio up front. Look, I hate the fact I'm just playing the same team all the time, but we've got no other options, and this is going to be my video tomorrow regarding January. You know what I mean? We genuinely do not have any other options at this football club. We're so limited. Our squad is so thin. It's paper thin, and this is why I think we struggle, because we've just got no other options. We're just flogging these players 90 minutes. It's difficult. So that's my team. I'm going to go for a win. I'm going to go for 2-1. I think we're going to get it. I think we'll get it over the line today. We've got a decent record against Fulham, to be fair. Apart from obviously this season, we not so well much, but in general, we've got a pretty decent record against them. So I fancy us. We've got, this is a big game. It's just one that we cannot let the Europa League, the loss to Leverkusen be a hangover today. We don't want it to be any kind of issue. We don't want to be thinking about it. Today is a vital game. West Ham simply just must get the job done. And I think we will. It's a big one, a must win. Come on, you Irons.